Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracz, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own Prime Performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here, you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today is going to be a great conversation because our guest today is building something that I really think that every entrepreneur, leader, and high performer needs to understand. And today's guest is my good friend, Daniel Sears. Daniel is the founder of NeuroGenesis, which is a longevity company focused on nervous system health, heart-brain cohesion, and helping people regulate their internal world so that they can perform at a higher level externally, which is exactly what we're all about here on Surviving the Side Hustle. And today's conversation should be a great one because I think we're going to touch on things like burnout, perfectionism, health crises, and somatic work, and what it really means to build something aligned instead of just taking more action. So if you've ever felt like you've been pushing super hard on something and still feel like something underneath feels a little bit off, then this episode is going to be for you. So Dan, man, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for that intro. Yeah, I look forward to the conversation. I know you're doing a lot of work in this area too with high performers and boosting performance, fighting burnout, fighting all these different things that people are struggling with. So excited for the conversation.
Yeah. And I have the pleasure of knowing you on a personal level for a little while now. And I know that in previous conversations that we've had, you've described yourself as someone who's constantly wearing a lot of hats, and you've got a good eye for noticing push seasons and slow down or steady seasons. So I want to kick off the conversation, but kind of diving in and asking you, where or when did you first realize that something was kind of off and you had this awareness?
Man, when did I realize? I mean, it was like a ton of bricks falling on me, getting smacked in the face. It wasn't hard to realize that I was burning the candle at both ends and too much wax was dripping off. When I first hit the wall, I had a lot of personal things happening in my life, and career wise, things were shifting, and it was a big season with a lot of rain, and it was health. I mean, the first one was health. I mean, actually, even before that, it was like the noise in my head had gotten so loud that I couldn't control anything that was going on in my life, and like really wearing on just the quality of life that I had. So that, and then health issues compounded on top of that because I wasn't listening well enough. And then again, it happened and it was all being triggered through different things that was wearing on my system. So to be frank about it, it was mold. And that is known to really hurt the body through inflammation and work on like the back end system of what it becomes very confusing, right? So you don't have anything to really put your finger on it, but that re-triggered some things from my past. And so, yeah, just a system that is short circuiting really is what it was.
Yeah. And it's crazy because we going through this whole human experience and called life, and there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of things and that happen to us. And I think really the reflection of the situations is really where we learn and grow and move forward. So aside from just the awareness component of being, I guess, more self aware, how did some of these experiences like the mold sickness and the nervous system damaging, I guess, or I don't know the correct terminology, but the nervous system situation, and I think also there was heart issues and stuff too, right, in health. So what else has those experiences kind of taught you?
Yeah, so the heart thing was one of my biggest awakenings. I was going through a divorce. I had just moved and lost my community, lost a lot of my close friends in proximity to them, and going through a lot of different shifts. And I was having chest pains, and I went to go see the doctor, and I was going through emotional heartbreak, and my body was mirroring the emotional heartbreak at the same time. And I was having some heart issues, and it was scary. I mean, looking at the life like it is fragile and knowing that it is on my doorstep. It's not on a friend's doorstep. It's not on a family member's doorstep. It's not something that I'm reading about or clients. It's happening to me right now. And it was scary and it was a big awakening that happened. But what came with that was a deeper connection with my heart. And at the same time, I was going through some meditation classes and I was I had retired from the Air Force and was back into school for industrial organizational psychology. And so, in that, I was doing a lot of research and seeing what was helping people in this area, specifically around burnout and work. And I was looking at what was being done with psychedelics at the time and studying about the transformations that were being made there. And so, all these things that I'm looking at and the awareness that came to me was that I was so disconnected from my own body. I was disconnected from the intelligence that my body had been trying to give me this whole time. And I was disconnected really from my heart. And I'll bore you really quick with some of the neuroscience. We have obviously the most neurons in our brain, and these neurons are firing and rewiring with each other all the time. The second largest group of neurons that we have is in our stomach. So people talk a lot about gut intuition, and there's something there, but the gut is hard to hear. And these neurons, I tell people, they're more like canoes. And what you eat, what goes into your body, jumps on these canoes and goes up to the brain, through the gut brain axis. And so those neurons can be hijacked based on what we are intaking. And they don't have a lot of clarity necessarily. Sometimes they do. If we can connect to our gut intuition, people are like, man, I got a gut feeling. It's our body is giving us a sign. But the third largest group of neurons is on our heart. And these are not really like canoes, like the gut brain axis. They are attached from the heart to the brain through the nervous system. And these neurons are high powered, deep thinking, memory associated types of neurons. And so we have a connection to our heart that is like none other. And we have a brain on our heart called the intrinsic cardiac nervous system. And so it thinks and it remembers in a different way than any other part of our body. And so the beauty that came from this heart issue that I was going through was when I dove into it in deep states of meditation as I was practicing this and working with clients to teach them this and learning more of myself. I had this beautiful moment with my heart where it told me that I was not listening to it. And I needed to strengthen that connection and hear more about what my heart had to say.
Beautiful, or was it kind of scary when you were going through that?
In the moment, the actual moment, it was incredibly beautiful. It was moving. It was profound. It was profound in a state, in a way that my body didn't even know what to do with the emotion. And it was an expression that I think the humans don't have enough range in our emotion to really describe. So our body just has this beautiful experience and it just kind of jumbles up all of our expressions together and has it. And so, like, ugly snot coming out of my weeping, tears, just like moving emotions in this moment where I had met my heart, like it was a part that was separate from me. And it was so visceral in my body too. I could feel energy pulsing through my body like I had never before. And so it was extraordinary. It was really just one of the most powerful moments that I've had in my life. And so that is, um, that's kind of one of those feelings that I think a lot of people are looking for with themselves or source, God, the universe, collective consciousness. Tapping in and experiencing these feelings is so empowering in the body and healing for the body too. And so, yeah, it was really a beautiful moment.
Yeah, and I like that you were kind of touching on the different feelings. And I was just having a conversation with somebody relatively recently. Sorry if this is kind of getting a little off of script or off par or whatever, but I want to ask you quick before I kind of forget is like, how do you what's your take on like today's, this might be a tough question too, sorry for the curveball, but what's your take on like the world today as like, because I feel like I see so many people avoiding a lot of emotions. So the conversation that I was having recently is like, okay, it's like, oh, I'm trying to be happier, I'm trying to experience all these like pleasant or I guess positive emotions, and people are afraid of or try to remove themselves from some of those like I guess negative emotions. I don't really try to differentiate positive and negative because I'm somebody who believes like, okay, yeah, sadness, frustration, all these other things are still emotions that we should be experiencing and that we're allowed to be experiencing, but we try to avoid so much of that. And I'm curious on what your take is on what that might be doing to our bodies or ourselves as performers, trying to avoid certain emotions and feelings.
Yeah, I love this question. This is not off par. This right on par. I mean, when I started to learn more about somatics. I had been looking at somatics for a long time because I'm a tall guy. I have some different postural things happening. And sometimes I'm leaning my head down, hunching my neck and curling my shoulders forward a little bit because I'm coming down to somebody's level and talking with them. And so, like, I have different postural things happening in my body that I wanted to correct. And then I started to learn that posture and emotions can correlate with each other. And so we start to hold things in our body. And so, your question is, when we're looking at emotions and the range of emotions, and we are in this time where people are very focused on words and how we feel and what we're thinking or what we're allowing ourselves to think. This manifestation time, we have to say the positive thing and feel the positive thing so that we can pull in the positive thing. Right. And so that's all beautiful. But life, we are here to experience all of the ranges, all of the different colors that emotions have to bring into our life. And where we get lost is we start to judge them. And so when somebody has sadness come in, grief come in, guilt come in, and they don't express it and they want to cover it with a positive emotion, that's like like the dog burying the bone in the backyard. The bone is still there and it still has a signature on it. And so this emotion, if we got into an argument and I said something that really stung you, why did it sting? There was some reality to it. If you want to brush that under with a positive emotion, that's still there. That reality is still there. And so when we start to judge our emotions, it doesn't help any. And when we bury our emotions, it doesn't help any. When we express our emotions, you're like, wow, that hurt my feelings and I'm sad. Now you can feel your sadness. Now I can say, Rob, what did I say that hurt your feelings? And you can tell me, and then we can discover what that meant to you and why that meant to you. And then from that, you have a lesson in it to take, which is, that actually took me back to when I was a kid and my father told me that I was not going to amount to anything or that he didn't love me that he didn't show that he loved me, or maybe it wasn't that bad, but maybe there was this under the covers feeling that you just weren't going to gain his approval. And then when I said something, you felt again like you weren't getting my approval, and it triggered that same thing. And so there's a lesson in there for you. And to say, you made me mad and I'm sad about this, and now I'm going to say something positive negates all of that. You're not going to be able to find that inner child that had something damaged. You're not going to feel any of these emotions. And then this gets trapped in the body and coming back into the somatics. Now you have this thing, this emotion that was never felt. It was only judged and then buried with some positivity. And it's still in your body. It still is there. So I think it's really powerful to allow ourselves to feel emotions and to not judge them and to not blame people or ourselves. And then to just be curious and shed some positivity, some lessons on top of that emotion. So I don't know. I kind of went a little sideways, but I hope I answered a little bit about like what can really happen. I mean, when you leave things in your system undealt with, they come back later. And when they come back later, they have more baggage attached to them. And it's really hard to discover what that means.
Yeah, no, I think you said that beautifully. And I think, and it makes me want to ask this one question right away. But before I do that, I want to kind of take a step back for a second, just because a lot of people listening to this episode, or at least this show in general, they are some form or another a high performer. They're either working a side hustle or they've launched a business and they're kind of stepping into that and trying to just trying to get to the next level. So maybe just before we kind of move on to the question I want to ask you, could you just quickly define what somatic work really is, in case that's not somebody's industry around recovery and performance and optimization kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So, um, okay. So somatics it looks at it's the body, right? And so soma is the body. And so referring broadly to what is, I'm trying to think of so somatics is about tapping into what is in the body, right? So we have the mind, we have the body, we have energy that is pulsing through us. We have electricity that is pulsing through our veins and our body and our nervous system. And so we kind of are living this trinity, this three pillared paradigm. Somatics is to tap into the body and to use the movement of the body, to really use the movement to move the energy through the body. And so using that body to move now the electricity around. So, and then from there, we can tap more into the deeper states of the mind. So our mind has multiple different levels. We have the conscious level, we have the subconscious level, and we have the unconscious level. And so nobody's ever thinking about how their liver is operating. That's happening unconsciously. And the subconscious is something that we can tap into with a little bit of our conscious mind too. And there's different layers to that as well. And so when we're talking about somatics, we're talking about different types of physical therapies that we can use to move energy. And so that could be like bilateral tapping, where you're kind of sitting there and you're going back and forth. And so you're feeling something in the body and you're starting to re regulate and rebalance the body in different ways. You can do some shaking. And so this is a big one. It's, um, I mean, you think about any kind of animal in the animal kingdom, they're shaking all the time. After they get into something, after they see something, but birds are shaking all the time. Dogs, they shake all the time. They shake it off. And so it's like, it's moving and stimulating the body and just kind of like releasing this energy, especially when things start to get stuck in the body. So shaking is a big thing. And then breathing. And so by being conscious with our breath, we can bring our breath into different areas and into the body, and we can start to notice different things in the body. So that's somatic as well. So like bringing our breath in and feeling an expansion in our lower lungs or feeling an expansion into our lower back. Now you're cognizant of it. You're really understanding, hey, I'm bringing my breath and I don't just feel it pulsing up and down in my chest. I feel it like going deep into my body and filling out like my back lungs, like pushing out my back. So now you're being aware of something that's going on with your body.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it's the cross connection between mind, body, and energy, and just like being more aware and tuned with yourself and everything as well. And I want to dive into kind of what you were talking about before, when you had mentioned about the dog kind of burying the bone in the backyard. Because I know you were in the Air Force for a while, and I don't know if it's the same now. I've never been in the Air Force, but when I think of the military, I always think of like, okay, emotions to the side, just carry out on the objective. We got to do this, do this, do this. So I want to ask you, like, so how was your time with the Air Force and your background? How has that kind of shaped who you are with what you're doing now? Or at least has that changed the way that you're looking at work now?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate the question. It's the Air Force really shaped all of who I am right now. I mean, talking about somatics, it's kind of the opposite. They basic training, military, all of military basic training is about overcoming the body and the limitations that the body is telling us that we have all the time. Stop running right now. I'm tired. Is that the body saying that, or is that us allowing our body to dictate what we're doing? And so it's like we're overcoming things all the time with the body. So the Air Force definitely has shaped a lot of that, and it left me disconnected as well from the intuitiveness that my body has, and it kept me in my mind. And so, but it did it in such a way that now that I know and I understand, I have a much more powerful connection with both my mind and my body and my intuition. That is kind of this third thing that's like floating around in our what we can do with our consciousness and what we can do with our intuitiveness. I think it's really interesting as we start to think about like the brain and the body and the different brain waves that we can connect to and we operate from and where they are connected into our body and our intuitiveness. And so it's a really interesting thing as we start to get into like brain training, right? And so um, I use a lot of neurofeedback and nervous system healing with different pieces of technology. So the military really did help to create that strong frame of resilience and dependence on my mind rather than my body and allow me to overcome other things with it, which set me up for the next stage of life, which is now in understanding that we don't have to move past what our body's telling us. We do have to not allow our body to dictate us throughout our the whole time of our day to day, but we can really start to listen to our body and use it in a more powerful way. And I think the military is making shifts too and understanding like we don't need to just push past in ways that are so aggressive and miss some of the magic that's there.
And so, because you had mentioned a lot of like brain training and such, and I would love to kind of jump into one, explaining what neurogenesis is, and then two, kind of like talking about what it's like, what you're kind of doing with that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, Neurogenesis is a nervous system performance company for high pressure humans. And so we work with athletes, executives, pretty much people who are going through big shifts or have just had a big, whether it's an energetic output or energetic input, a big transformation of some sort and help them to recover from that and make sure that their nervous system is operating at peak capacity because we are, most people think that their breakdowns happen in the mindset and that they might need more discipline or better communication skills, more willpower. But what I've seen time and time again is that when pressure arises, the nervous system shifts and the axis starts to disappear. And so we have to regain more access through the nervous system, which gives us more access to clarity, more access to patience, more access to our intuition. And so we don't teach people how to communicate with each other necessarily. We teach people how to regulate their nervous system and allow their body to communicate with themselves in transformational types of ways. So these decisions change from reactive to proactive, and performance becomes something that we have intervened in. And so we restore the coherence, like I was talking about the heart before, we help to restore the coherence between the heart and the mind. And so that's one of the biggest things that I'm passionate about is helping people to connect to their hearts in transformative ways that really boost the collective.
Yeah. And I mean, I know for myself, at least I can see that that's why that's so important to the world and powerful too, because from my understanding, you do a lot of these different trainings and different modalities to kind of increase that connection. And that just creates better people so they can operate better, they can perform better, they can make better decisions, they can grow their businesses and make better plans and deals and such. So I can see that being super important. But I'm interested to kind of hear, where was the inspiration? Because I'm guessing you were going through these hardships and these issues and these other things, and then you started testing out and learning a lot of this stuff for yourself. When were you like, hey, this is something that I need to share with more people, enough where you then stepped into ownership of this business and then kind of bringing this to the world? Hey, sorry for the interruption. It's me, Rob, and I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. But I wanted to remind you, if you're a driven entrepreneur or an expert based business owner who wants to get unstuck, create sustainable momentum, and really start moving forward, I've got a free resource just for you. You can download my 5 keys to clarity and momentum. It's a PDF guide. It's a quick read, and it'll help you cut through the noise, clarify your next steps, and start building the systems that you need for sustainable success. So if you're new here, or if you haven't grabbed it yet, this is the first step to applying these principles in your own journey. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/5 keys and download your free copy today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/5 keys.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So I definitely lived the problem. I was suicidal at times. I had such a lack of understanding of my own empathy, my own nervous system health, and what that meant for me. And then I was dealing with serious health issues. And again, it was because I didn't know how to understand my own level of empathy and like what I was feeling from others and how that was starting to infest my own energy. So I was allowing other people's ideas and thoughts about me change the way that I thought about myself. And it was all because I was completely drained. I had all this resilience in my body and my mindset in some ways. And then my gas tank was on empty. I had no personal shield up. I had no understanding of what that even meant. And so it became very confusing to me. And when I started to do the things that really helped to fill my energy and my spirit in different ways, then I started to regain a, a more knowing of who I was. I regained an understanding of how other people's energy or situations were impacting me. And so I was trained to be extremely precise, resilient, high performing, focused on hitting targets. And so when my health really started to shift and I started to learn these other things, I realized it all could have been done so much easier. Like this could have all been so much more easy. 7 years in therapy, talking and talking. And I'm like, why are we just talking about this? Like there has to be a shift somehow. And what therapy failed to do was intervene on the energetic level, like the cellular level, to help rebalance. It didn't help to create more neuroplasticity in my mind. It just kept me stuck in my loops and my patterns. And so um, this what I started to see was when people were like, wow, you're making huge shifts in your life and you're just showing up in a very different light. Like you feel different. And the way that you're taking accountability for certain things is like inspiring. What are you doing? What is going on? So I realized there was something here. And when I started to teach meditation, I realized there was more here. And when I realized that a lot of people were missing the mark on meditation, and I got into neurofeedback, and I said, oh, wow, this is like a, you think about basic training, a drill sergeant can say, hey, you're doing these push-ups wrong. And we can see it. You're not straight, you're not going all the way up, and you're not going all the way down. This is a bad push-up. And then they can make corrections and you're doing a good push-up. And that's what I saw neurofeedback doing for meditation. People were quieting their mind, they were shutting their eyes, and they were still busy in their mind. They were still busy. That things come up, or they might have got a layer deeper and then they stayed there. And so what I saw neurofeedback was doing when I brought it into my clients when I was working with guys as an executive coach is they couldn't run any longer. They heard the actual feedback saying, you're not meditating. You're just quietly thinking. You've just quieted a little bit and you're still thinking. You're not in this space. Now you made it there. Now you're in this bit. Now you're out again. And so through that feedback, people were able to start to gain more clarity in where they would go into their mind to really shut down the noise and start to connect to that magic that's in there. And that was extraordinary. It was amazing to witness, and you could feel it happen, or I could feel it happen. I was working with this woman. She was an executive and had a really strong connection with God. She was devout in her religion, but she had a lot of noise going on in her mind, and she couldn't quiet it. And she prayed, and she said she felt a struggle to connect to God when she was in prayer. She tried to meditate and tried to stay with her practice. And then when I started to work with her and I put this neurofeedback on her, this brain trainer, she dropped into this deep and profound state. And I could feel her energy shift when it happened, to the point where I wrote down the time on her workout. And it felt like something moved through me. It was like wind had moved through my body. I had goosebumps on the inside of my body. And I was like, whoa, like it was a thrilling feeling. And I wrote this time down and I asked her when she came out, I was like, what was that like? And she was like, I finally shut down the noise. And I felt like I was sitting with God. And she told me this moment that she had that was like so dear to her, and she was crying and tears of joy and just felt so held. And we looked at her training session, and right at the moment that I wrote down, she had spiked her gamma brainwave. And so gamma is what people say is the God brainwave. It's the one in all four quadrants of the brain, and it's a very profound wave to be in. It can also be a very chaotic brainwave to be in. It all kind of depends on how you enter into it, right? And so quickly I'll go through these, which is beta is more of a busy mind, a doing, an action. We're probably in a beta brainwave right now. We're very engaged with each other. Alpha is more calm, flow mind, where a lot of executive functioning lives there. People are doing a lot of work there. A lot of guys that you and I work with, or people that you and I work with, have no problem getting into an alpha, a deep focus. There's a lot of people out there that struggle to get into an alpha because they can't get away from the noise. But alpha is a beautiful place to be, but it's also a place you can get stuck. Deep roots, or deep ruts. You can get stuck in those ruts and not be able to come out. And the next is theta. And so a theta brainwave is what I was talking about before. It's more connected to this unconscious mind and the body. It's connected more to the heart, to intuition. And delta is deep sleep, deep rest, a lot of reparative, restorative work there. And then gamma is this really profound, super powerful brainwave. And so to take you through these, our alpha is like we train alpha brainwaves so that we can build this bigger, stronger door frame to be able to look into the subconscious mind, into our theta. So once we bring this strong door frame to look through into the subconscious mind, the intuitive mind, the theta brainwave, that's where there's a lot of profound intuition that happens. That's where there's a lot of connection with the body. That's where there's this amazing connection to source or the collective consciousness or whatever people are finding there. And delta, you can think of that as like a yoga nidra brain. That's where there's a lot of restorative rest, deep sleep, non-sleep deep breaths, NSDR, something that a lot of high performers look to do, after a lunch break or something to drop back in. They want to get 12 minutes of a yoga nidra to sit there and quietly breathe and center their mind. So that's delta. And so this woman went through these brainwaves and she spiked in this theta brainwave. This theta went over her alpha brainwave. And she went busy mind beta into a deep alpha, into a theta brain, and then the gamma had spiked right there. So it was such a powerful moment for her. And it was such a beautiful moment for me too, to feel her energy pulse through me like that when she had done that. And that was it was incredible. And so that's what I'm here to do, is to help other people experience that piece of calm and that piece of magic right there. And it creates ripples. It really does. And you feel that when you're with somebody and it happens.
Yeah, I imagine that being a really awesome experience. And thank you for kind of explaining the different waves and such, because I know I've heard of them and looked them up a little bit here and there, but I've never really been able to kind of like understand it on a deeper level there. Is it so let me ask you, like, in a perfect world, or I guess perfect world, would we be able to kind of go into these different brain waves more naturally? And are we just like kind of stuck not being able to get into those? Because it would be really important to be able to like recover a lot better and then tap into all these different things on I guess not on command, but just being able to.
Yeah, on demand. We want things on demand. I mean, it's 2026. If it's not on demand, I mean, what's it going to do? So we want it on demand, and I'd love to be able to help people do that. And so you're right. We want to move through them, and people are getting stuck. There's a couple things that get stuck, and I'll tell you quickly. We talked about the brain waves and those things, and I'll tell you what I see anxiety is for myself and for the people that I've worked with. Anxiety is in a beta brainwave. And this is not like, oh, you're a beta man, or you're an alpha man or sigma. It's none of that. Like, beta is powerful. We need beta. We have to be in beta to do things and to connect with other people in this world that we live in. Fear and anxiety both live in beta because we are so materialized. And so when we start to shift out of this material into this like more quantum connected place, then we we have more room to play in. And so we do want to have this on demand. And it would be a really powerful thing to know that, hey, guess what? It doesn't take my words to communicate to you. They're helpful, but it doesn't take it. And so I think, and when we were prepping for this, we talked about, or I mentioned the 60-30-10 rule of communication. And this is rounding, the numbers are a little bit different, but 60% of communication is nonverbal, energetic. 30% is tone and tonality. So I can raise my voice, I can make crazy gestures, and that communicates a lot. And then 10% of communication are our words. And so NeuroGenesis is helping to tap into that 60%, this energetic communication. So in that, yeah, I mean, we want to be able to pull this up on demand. We want to be able to use these. And so coming back into what anxiety often is, and it keeps us stuck. Things keep us in certain flashing lights, advertisements. I mean, we're in a time where we understand how the psyche works, the human consciousness works. It's an algorithm, and you can create experiences of non-ordinary states of consciousness sticking to an algorithm. We can pretty accurately send people into like extraordinary states of being by sticking to algorithms. It's like lights and music and things can shift our state. And frequency medicine is like such a powerful thing right now. And so, like, coming back into anxiety, we're in this state of fear, we're in this state of anxiety, and we're trying to think our way out of it. And so our brain gets in the way, and our heart coming back is, it's got its own brain and it's trying to talk to our head's brain. And it's HRV, heart rate variability. The Heart Math Institute says that the brain up here on the left side sends a signal down our vagus nerve through into our heart. It says beat, our heart beats. And then the signal coming back to the brain is about 10 times or larger in the information that it's sending. So our heart brain is speaking to our head's brain all the time. And that's heart rate variability. So if you're anxious, you're going to have a very low heart rate variability, HRV. If you're calm and peaceful, you're going to have a high HRV. And so we can intervene metabolically or physically into changing our HRV. And then it can bring us a lot of peace. And so coming back into that anxiety, this brain is saying, I'm stressed. I need to think of my way out of this. hits the heart and the heart beats and the heart sends a signal back. And it's like, what do I do? What do I need to do? How do I need to move this? And it stays up in here. And the heart's saying, I know what to do. I have the answer. Look over here. Just be calm and trust, and so our heart is sending the signal and our brain's like, quiet. I'm trying to think up here. And that signal is colliding in the nervous system through the vagus nerve and is creating anxiety. People are like, oh, I feel anxious. I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my throat. I feel really anxious. We're having signals collide literally. And so our brain is in this busy mind, this busy beta brainwave, trying to create our action in our movement. And our heart is saying, can you please just be quiet? And can you please just trust I have the answer? And so when you can move from that, then not only do you have peace, but you have clarity. And you're able to like really hear what the body's trying to tell you. And our body is so intuitive, it has access to way more information than our mind has access to. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in today's world, we abuse our bodies with food we eat, the content we're consuming, just everything, the work hours, and we try to ignore all those signs that our body is telling us, and definitely doesn't help in any shape or form. But I'm interested to hear a little bit about like what does it look like working with NeuroGenesis? Is it just one-on-one kind of sessions? Is it just kind of like, hey, all right, you know what, I could really use a little bit of this right now? Or is it really something like you need to kind of work at this? And explain to me a little bit what that looks like.
Yeah. So um, it's it's a rapid nervous system reset experience, right? And so it's a repeatable protocol to educate people on and allow them to interact with it. And so resetting, recoding, and integrating the experience. And so using biofeedback um, and other pieces of wellness technology, we try to partner with the best brands in the business to create this uh, very high end activation. And so there is coaching along with it. And so we have a platform to scale through licensing this protocol out for performance coaches. We have a lot of uh, coaches that we work with, individual performance coaches. And so, working with clinicians as well, we're partnering with a couple different groups of doctors. A lot of the modalities that we use already, or all the modalities that we use already have a lot of data on their own. And we see that they have been siloed in focusing on their only one thought or their one lane, And so we're bringing all these different modalities together to create a more comprehensive experience. And so I have the brain reset circle, and that's the easiest way for people to get engaged. And so you can check out the website, liveneurogenesis.com, sign up for the brain reset circle. And that's where you get a neurofeedback device from one of our partners. And then just like I tell people, the neurofeedback is like the kettlebell. And so you can buy a kettlebell from just about anywhere and use it on your own. And you can probably get in shape. But we know a guy, Pat, if you work with Pat, do some kettlebell training, he's going to change your body with this kettlebell now. And so same thing with the brain reset circle. You get the kettlebell for the mind, you get this neurofeedback device, and then you get held in a community that teaches you really how to make substantial changes in your life. And so from there, then we also work with some higher end clients with athletes, professional athletes, or executives that are looking for this protocol in their own homes or in gyms. We're working with gyms and retreat centers as well to bring this protocol to them. And so then we're going to start seeing more of these rooms, these neurogenesis rooms that have this full experience pop up. And really excited about where this is all going through a fundraising round right now and looking to open the first in-person location that will be available to work with some of the doctors that we're partnering with for their clients to come through and experience the healing benefits that we have to offer.
Awesome. And so what was the website again? Was it liveneurogenesis.com?
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's the easiest place to get in contact with you for like the coaching aspect of things if you're taking on coaching clients right now.
Yeah, I'm still working with people one-on-one. Apart from it, I work with people through NeuroGenesis as well. And yeah, so danielsears.co on Instagram. We have Live Neurogenesis on Instagram. You can get there. Also am doing concierge healing work for individuals where I bring this protocol to them and work on a deeper level. Do some diagnostics as well to get some like real measurable results about where you are and then where you want to go from there. And we can do that as well. And so that's a lot of fun for people to get a reality check of like, oh man, I thought I had more access or more control over this.
There you go, guys. Make sure you follow him on the socials and check out the website for more information. And Dan, dude, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and share a little bit about yourself and about what's going on with neurogenesis and just kind of educating us a bit on the performance benefits of being a little more attuned with your body and the signals that it's sending out to our brain and ourselves in general. So I appreciate you coming on, taking that. And before I let you go, though, I want to ask you one last question here. Let's fast forward a little bit here. And if someone listened to this 5 years from now, what do you hope that they'd say changed because of your mission that you're working on?
5 years from now, they are living in more peace, more balance, more ease with themselves and those around them that they love, and that they were able to create the life of their dreams, whatever that is, however that looks, and impact the world in the most beautiful ways that they can see possible for themselves.
Awesome. I love it. Dan, dude, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate the value you're bringing to everybody. And we'll have to have you back on in the future, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rob. I appreciate this. It's great.
Of course. That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.